Well, hello, everybody. I guess I might as well go ahead and get started since y'all been seeing me primping back here, making sure my video setup was okay. So I hope everybody is just doing awesome tonight. I'm here. As you can see, my lighting is completely different. Well, it's spring break. I'm at the beach. And it's been like the last 10 days for me, you guys. Have you ever had like a span of time where like your mom's in the hospital, your dad's seeing double, like you got 3 friends with parents that die, your tooth falls out, and like everything just goes crazy? Well, like I'm serious. That has been my life for like the last 10 days. So I head to the beach with my sister and my 2 nieces, thinking like, okay, I'm just gonna set it up. I'm just gonna do the gathering from the beach. It'll be no big deal. Forget my power cord to my laptop and my ring light. So I've got some desk lamps like turned over and I got this funky lighting going on. But you know what? We're here. We've got a fantastic speaker tonight. I am so excited, you guys. I cannot wait to hear Hannah talk. This is going to be so incredibly awesome. She is just awesome. I just can't wait. Awesome. I can't think of a better word than awesome, but it's because I'm on spring break. Like, who thinks of words at the beach? So awesome is what you get. All right. So first order of business, we have to give away our March VIP attendee giveaway. So sorry about my green screen. Let's see if I can get it in. Well, you'll just have to like see it here. All right. So the wild wisdom of weeds. This is the one that Cindy talked about, and we are giving this away for all VIP attendees from the March National Gathering. So let me see here. Okay, so here we are. Let me share my screen. You guys know how I love to give things away. All right, so here is our lovely wheel of names. Are you guys ready? Here we go. Good luck, everybody. The wild wisdom of weeds. Who's gonna win? It's so exciting. Lori, nope. Oh, so close, L'Oreal. Jenna Bell, I'm gonna be sending you an email. Please make sure you check your spam folder. Make sure that you look for that email from me. Probably not tomorrow because I'm at the beach, so give me a little bit of wiggle room here. But definitely in the next week, I'll be sending you an email making sure that you give me your shipping address so I can send you your wild wisdom of weeds. Also, if you guys won something last month, check your spam folder. I've only heard from one of you guys. So yeah, I'd like to give you your stuff. Check your email, send me your shipping address. I want to know where you are so I can send your stuff. So, okay. All right. That is awesome. So look, I did that and I have all this time to talk. So what do you want to know? Here we go. Here I am. I'm so excited to have this going on today. Like I said, I'm at the beach. The weather's beautiful. Oh, tell me where you're from. Tell me in the chat where everybody is from. Let's see. We've got about 30 people on right now. We still have a few extra minutes, but let's see who is here. Oh, Atlanta's in the house, Madison County, Georgia, Oklahoma, Kansas, North Carolina, Washington, South Carolina's rocking it, woot, woot, Indiana, Ohio, another Georgia, Idaho, Georgia, Idaho, North Idaho. Everybody's here tonight. And of course, Hannah is here from, excuse me, from Los Angeles. We're so excited to have her. Oklahoma, Ohio, Idaho. You guys are awesome. Sorry, I'm getting choked up here. I'm just so excited that you guys are here. So anyway, whew, it has been a time. I hope y'all are all doing a little better than me. No joke, since we have 2 minutes, I'll go ahead and tell you the story. So This, not this one, this tooth right here literally like broke off and fell out. And I was beyond I was just beyond, like, I don't even know what I was beyond. I was beyond, because I knew it happened Friday night, right? So I had the farmer's market. Our very first farmer's market was on Saturday. We had Easter on Sunday, which I was supposed to serve at our church. So Easter on Sunday, then I was coming to the beach on Tuesday, and then this on Wednesday, and then it just goes on and on and on, right? So when am I going to get this fixed? Anyway, thankfully I got it fixed. Obviously, as you can see, nice new grill. Actually, they just did a temporary fix, but I'm going to get it fixed. Crisis averted, right? Eating a shoestring French fry. Who does that? It's real life. All right, it's 7:59. Guys, I'm so excited you're here. We will officially get started because that's what we do around here. We get started on time. We'll even get started 1 minute early. So I'll just welcome you all again. We're so excited you're here. I'm excited to be here. We've got a great speaker tonight, Hannah Crum, with from Kombucha Camp is gonna talk to us all about kombucha tonight. I'm very excited about that. At the end, just like last month, we're gonna have breakout rooms. So if you guys weren't here last month, let me tell you how they work. So at the end, we're gonna do two things. We're gonna give more stuff away because that's my favorite thing to do. And then we're going to drop a link in the chat for a Zoom meeting. So this is actually what they consider a webinar, and we are going to drop it into the Zoom meeting. Now that's the typical Zoom that you guys are used to, with where you can see, where everybody can see everybody. And so when you jump over to that Zoom after this one is over, we have breakout rooms, and they're divided by regions. So what you do when you get over there, Jesse's going to be over there waiting on you, and she does a great job. She'll help you get into a breakout room if you're having trouble, or you can just choose a breakout room that matches your region. They're listed by state, and there's a moderator in there, so you're not just be floundering by yourself. But just go over there, and we're going to talk about kombucha and really anything homesteading. But kombucha is kind of the lead-off topic, and then where it goes, it goes. But those breakout rooms are there. And again, we'll give you that link at the end. So don't worry about that. We will take care of that and get you guys where you need to go at the end. I'll remind you to do all that. Also, a quick reminder, and I'll try and remind you again right before we get started. If you have questions for tonight about the presentation, please use the Q&A. Please use the Q&A, and we'll make sure that Hannah gets those. And then when she gets to the Q&A section, she can get all those answered. So we actually already have a Q&A. Sophia asked, how do we add our name to the giveaway? Okay, so this is how it happens. So our all attendees giveaways, when while y'all are watching our wonderful presentations, I am behind the scenes working, getting everybody's name together in that wheel. So if you're attending, you're on that one. The reason that we don't do the all VIP attendees till the next month is because I have to take the attendee list and compare it with the VIP member list, and I just can't get all that done in the time that we have here. So you don't need to do anything to add your name to the giveaway. I add your name to the giveaway. If you're a VIP member, you're automatically entered into the all VIP members giveaway and to the VIP member attendee giveaway if you attend the gathering. So like this, if you're here tonight and you're a VIP member tonight, then next month, at the beginning of next month's gathering, we will do the VIP giveaway. And so if all you have to do is be a VIP member and be here. That's it. For the all attendees, you just have to attend. And then for the all VIPs, you just have to be a VIP. So really, there's nothing that you need to do. You are entered depending on what category you fall into. And if you want more chances to win, then you can become a VIP member. And that's just one of the many, many perks that we offer as, or that's just one of the benefits that our VIP members get. So Cindy's jumped on. She must want me to be quiet. It's 8:03, and that is the time for her to start talking. So take it away, Cindy.
All right. And welcome to everybody who's on here from Montana. Our snow is slowly going away. I actually cleared a path to the front office door today, so no one has to walk on ice or snow. So things are looking up for spring. Before we get started with everything else, a constant reminder of why we even exist as the Ladies Homestead Gathering. Our purpose for existing is to empower women through homesteading, our favorite topic, right? And how do we do that? We do that by sharing knowledge, which is why we have these national virtual gatherings once a month, so that we can reach more women and share the knowledge about homesteading. And then the next one is we build communities. That's what we're about. We're about building communities. A lot of stuff happens within those communities, but the purpose for the national organization is to help you all find a place to meet other women who are just like you, who are like-minded. And then the last one is to, to build friendships. And I feel like after this last year with COVID, like that's more necessary now than it ever has been before. So we welcome you tonight to the National Ladies Homestead Gathering, our virtual gathering, which happens once a month. The next thing that we're going to talk about, and this is my all-time favorite. So before we get into it, I want to share with you how you can share with us. So one of the things we want to celebrate with you as fellow homesteaders are your victories. It's really, really important that you get to shout from the mountaintop and share with people whatever it is you did this last month that you're just so excited about, because let's face it, if nobody else is standing on the sidelines cheering you on, sometimes it's hard to be that motivated to keep going. So whether you've planted your first tomato or you have, revamp the engine in your truck, we want to know about it. So on the national page, on our Facebook page, we are going to start putting up a post for Atta Girls. That's what we call them, our Atta Girls. So we're going to have you share with us, and then we're going to take those and start sharing them on our national virtual gathering, so everybody gets to hear what you did. So be sure to look for that post. We'll put a reminder out in Mighty Networks and let you know that it's up there, because we really, really, really sincerely want to hear what you are accomplishing. And with spring here and right around the corner, like, it's really important that we know what's going on. So tonight I've asked Gareth, she's one of our regional directors for the Northeast. Hey, Gareth. And I've asked her if she would share with us a couple of wild herbs that we all can start gathering and using right now. She's actually in the Athens area. She's the president currently for the Athens chapter, but then she also has taken on the position of our regional director for the Northeast. So take it away, Gareth.
Gareth, I muted you. That's my bad. I saw you unmuted and I was trying to be like proactive so there wasn't some extra noise.
Okay.
That's my bad.
All right. So here we go. I want to share my screen because it helps to understand what I've been up to. My Atta Girl is about spring beekeeping. And sometimes, if you know me, I have a lot of things that I'm really excited about, and springtime is kind of a crazy time, but I'm super proud of myself because I actually, let's see, how do I skip this? There we go. I actually painted my beehives before I needed them. And here's a picture of me today catching a swarm from one of my hives already. So yeah, I was on time, just barely, and I caught the swarm that came from one of my hives. So that's a huge deal to me. I'm really proud of it, and that's my Atta Girl for today. All right.
Thanks, Gareth. Appreciate it. And now Ginger, did you want to do our introduction for our speaker or for Ginny?
Sure, I can do that. So we have a very special guest today. We have Jenny Morris. So you guys are all kind of familiar with our executive staff, our national executive staff, Cindy, me, Jill, Jen. I mean, there's, Miranda, Amanda, they're all escaping me. Minu, you know all of us. But what y'all don't know is that we have some people, some very smart people that keep us in check. And sometimes we kind of need that because we get a little dreamy and want to run off and do some crazy things, and they might rein us in a little bit every now and then. And the head of those people that keep us in check is the president of our board of directors, and that is Jenny Morris. And Jenny is here tonight. To be honest, again, I'm on vacation, so I don't really know what Jenny's going to tell us. I hope she's going to introduce herself and tell us, what she does and about herself, because I don't really know Jenny very well either. So I'm looking forward to getting to know her a bit tonight as well. So Jenny, please share with us all the things.
All the things. Okay. First, welcome to everyone. I am also in Georgia. So this is later in the evening for me, thank goodness. I am president of the board, and there are only about 4 of us voting members right now. I am a lawyer, so I spend a lot of time looking at what people are trying to do and figuring out how they can do it, but also making sure that they understand the risks and dangers of doing those things. So my job is to keep everybody out of trouble. As far as being a homesteader, I guess I was a homesteader before you called it homesteading. I'm very schooled in what I call the domestic arts, baking, cooking, all kinds of needlework, canning. I used to have a garden, that sort of thing. So I'm familiar with some of what y'all are doing. Don't know everything, that's okay. As far as the board, what we do is we oversee the operations of the organization, the national organization, the folks that you talk to organize your chapters. We create policy for the organization, including policy for the board, how it's supposed to run, and what officers are supposed to be there, what our financial policy is. And we try to trickle that down through the chapters, providing guidance for them, work to make sure there's consistency within the organization. We want to make sure that that all the chapters are rowing in the same direction. And part of that is because y'all are working under the national 501c3. In order for us to maintain that, everybody has to be rowing in the same direction. We also oversee how the funds work. I know that there's Mina's on the staff to manage that, but we make sure that proper reporting is done to preserve our 501c3 status, which is very important to us. We fundraise for the national organization to try to provide more funds for operations and maybe one day to be able to pay staff. And then we manage issues as they come up. When y'all come up with a great fundraising idea, they run it by the board and we make sure that it meets all of the legal issues and is within the policy. We meet once a month virtually now, which is wonderful because anybody can participate. And right now we're trying to grow. So that's why I'm here today. I'm here today looking for folks who want to step up and be part of our board. We're particularly looking for folks with financial backgrounds, or at least financially literate. We're looking for fundraisers, and we're looking for grant writers. But quite honestly, we're happy to have anyone, because some of us can shift positions and do some of those other things. For example, if you want to be secretary, we could shift her to a different position. So we wanted to appeal to the whole membership, to everybody out there, because every area of this country has a different take on things. And we want to involve that in the whole organization. Since the national organization sets policy for the whole nation, we want some input from some other places. So we are happy to have you from anywhere. You Idaho folks, come on. We try not to overload anyone with doing too much. So the more people, the merrier. The more we can spread out and everybody take a little piece of the job. It'd be nice to have a problem of having too many people wanting to be on the board. We can deal with that. I will put my email in the chat so that if you're interested, shoot me an email, or I believe there's a link on the website to contact us. I'm not sure if it's working, but I'm sure that somebody from your chapter can get in touch with somebody at National to let me know that you're interested. And I would be happy to talk to you about that. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me, and I'll put my email in the chat.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I've known Jenny for years and was thrilled when she agreed to be a part of our organization. And she also, outside of being a lawyer, has done a ton of work with nonprofits. So she is definitely a treasure that we cherish because she has so much knowledge. So thank you, Jenny, for being with us tonight. All right, the next thing that we're gonna do.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. The next thing that we're going to do is we have our 10-minute herbal talk tonight. Gareth is going to give it to us. I'm super excited. She's going to talk. I'm not even going to tell you what she's going to tell us about, but I know, and I love these 2 plants that she's going to share. So Gareth, if you're ready, we're ready to hear from you and to have you share with us about the weeds.
Oh, let me just,
Gareth, before you start, somebody had asked in the Q&A if those were top bar hives.
I have 1 top bar hive, and I have Langstroth hives as well. Okay, so let's get to it. All right, I'm still working on it. Sorry, ladies. All right, so good evening and welcome to Into the Weeds. My name is Gareth Crosby, and I'm coming to you from Athens, Georgia. And we have a wonderful evening in store for you. And I have a couple of excellent weeds to show you tonight. So without further ado, let us begin. All right. So the first weed that I have for you tonight is the stinging nettle. You might not be super excited about stinging nettle, but honestly, once we're done with this presentation, I think you're going to reconsider. Now it's about 2 to 5 feet tall. It's got opposite branching leaves, and the leaves are coarsely toothed. They're pointed on the ends, and they can be several inches long. They also like to have fairly moist soil. So consider that if you're going to plant your own nettles. The flowers are pendulous, and they hang as inflorescences from the stem, from the center stem, by the leaves like catkins. The thing that makes them the most dangerous are these things called trichomes, and they are stinging hairs. And they are hollow like a hypodermic needle, but they have these protective tips. And when those tips break off from being touched, they inject formic acid, histamines, and other chemicals into your skin, which is so great and causes real itching. But there's one famous person that I know, Amanda Stevens, who has no problem with these. She brushed her sweet hand against them the other day when she bought them from our plant sale, and I was blown away. So some people have superpowers. hopefully you're one of those people. It is a super edible plant. But it has to be cooked or dried to neutralize those little stingers. So you cook it like spinach, or you can dry it in the dehydrator. But it is one of the most nutritional edibles available. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but listen, it's got like 6.9 grams of fiber and 481 milligrams of calcium. And that's something like 73% of your daily value of calcium and 25% of your daily value of fiber. So just go for it. It's pretty, so it's got some serious health benefits as well. So it decreases oxidative stress. What is that? That is implicated in accelerated aging, oh darn, as well as many chronic diseases. So consider this to help your health all the way along. Nettle tea has an analgesic effect, meaning it helps relieve pain. So it hurts when you brush by it, but then it helps you on the back end. I don't know, it's pretty great. Kind of a funky personality, that nettle. Nettles have an antiviral and antimicrobial or antibacterial and antifungal effects. So it's just all across the board fantastic. They work to as a natural anti-inflammatory as well. So that's really good for people with allergies. It helps decrease that inflammation during allergy season. Nettles extract, and nettle extract is used to treat arthritis. So that's really fantastic. So again, it gives pain on the front end, but then relieves pain on the back end. I don't know, it's a funny thing. Nettles are also very useful for people with diabetes because they can combat high blood sugar and cardiovascular risk factors. So just go for it. Now, if you don't really know how to deal with trying to ingest it, you can do all sorts of crazy awesome things like make pasta. I know I love pasta in any shape or form, and I like to make my own pasta too. So you could absolutely make pasta. Look how beautiful and green it is with nettles. And there's a link here below the picture that you can, hopefully Jesse will put it in the comments there, and you can click that and figure out how to make your own pasta. But if you're like, I don't have a pasta maker, you could make ravioli. You can do that all by hand, or you can just make pesto and add that to your pasta. Here's a really great recipe from William Sonoma where it's just butter braised nettles on orecchiette pasta, or whatever shape you want. It doesn't matter. But again, one of the easiest ways to imbibe nettles is through tea. Nettles have an insane number of micronutrients. They have iron, phosphorus, potassium, yada, yada, yada. They have vitamins A, C, K, and B. They've got phytonutrients. They're full of that chlorophyll that's really, really good for your health. So if you get some nettles from a friend, or you buy some from the farmer's market, or you got some in the backyard, start making tea. It's very easy. Here's a general guideline for making mineral-rich infusions, which is tea. Use 1 ounce of dried herb per quart of filtered or distilled water, and that's about a heaping tablespoon per 8 ounces. Now consider this. 1 ounce of dried herb is roughly equivalent to 4 ounces of fresh herbs. So this is like a liquid salad. Just go for it. You cover that, steep it for a minimum of 4 to 10 hours and allow it to come to room temperature. Why do you do that? Because the hot water and then the cold water draw out different constituents. So do both, and it'll be really healthy and packed with minerals. So one of the concoctions that you can make a nice tea would be nettle leaf mixed with alfalfa, oat straw, or horsetail, or rose hips. Another combo used by the Bastyr Natural Health Center uses nettles, oat straw, horsetail, comfrey, red clover, and lemongrass, most of which you can grow in your backyard. Lemongrass, that might be something you take in and out as a pot, but go for it. Wow. And just to finish it up here, here's a really funny thing. There is a World Nettle Eating Championship. Okay, these guys and gals, but you can see it's mostly guys trying to prove their worth, are out there eating raw nettles. It's hosted in a town of Marshwood in Dorset, England, and the competition takes place every year just before the solstice, and I have the story here. So the story goes, once upon a time, a farmer named Alex Williams was complaining about the size of his nettles in his field. If anyone could show him nettles larger than his 15-foot 6-inch monsters, he said he'd eat his weeds raw. So soon after that, another farmer came in with his 16-foot nettle stalk, and thus the nettle eating championship began. I just thought that was crazy cool. Evidently, it's a real popular event here. Oh, the next weed is one of my faves. After nettles, it's a much easier to collect weed. It's chickweed. The botanical Latin means little stars, and I'll show you why in a second. If you want to identify it, it has oval-shaped, pointed leaves that grow in pairs opposite from each other. The leaves can be anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1.5 inches long, and that they have these stringy, succulent stems that they emanate from. Here are the flowers. Look at those things. They're so cute. And the coolest thing about them is they've got 5 double-lobed white petals. You don't really see double-lobed petals very often. But anyway, sweet little star. So again, this is another weed that has a huge list of health benefits. It's nourishing and mineral rich. Now, what does that mean? Well, I'll go into it in a little bit because I have some more stuff down the pike here. It's anti-inflammatory. It is cooling. It helps with like dry throats. So it helps to be emollient in your throat. It helps with healing and drawing out things, and has an action of drawing for first aid. It's a diuretic, a digestive tonic, and it helps enhance metabolism and burn fat. So that's kind of a wow moment. I also read that they dissolve and break down unwanted matter, including disease-causing bacteria, cysts, benign tumors. Oh my goodness. So chickweed's got a heck of a lot of awesome benefits, and it's so easy to collect and it's so easy to grow. So one thing, here we go. Here's all the minerals that you can get. Or you have vitamin C, you have B, iron, calcium, magnesium, and zinc. It also contains these crazy things called saponins, and that's like soap, and that emulsifies and increases the permeability of cell membranes. Also, saponins increase our ability to absorb nutrients. So it's an amazing like tool for also having more health come through the other foods that you're eating. Oh, that's an amazing weed. So if you don't want to just eat it raw out of the garden like my son or whatever, you can make pesto. So you can make pesto out of nettles. It seems like you can make pesto out of pretty much anything that's green. But anyway, you can mix a whole bunch of mix of wild greens and you can make a yummy pesto. And there's a link down at the bottom there that Jesse will put in the comments for us. But if you don't want to like eat pesto all the time, or salad, you can juice it and mix it with other fruits and make a nice smoothie. You can make a tincture. That's that green ball jar right there. You can make muffins or cakes. You can make chickweed vinegar. You could make, why did that pop up? I don't know. You can make cookies, and you can go for that salad again once you've had the other things. So here's another list of all of those options for consuming chickweed that Jesse will put up in the comments there. So, as I said, it is a useful medicine. So this helps, as I said, to reduce bacterial infections. And one of the most popular ways to use is to make a poultice for pink eye. And of course, with us having kids or grandkids, and they're always bringing their diseases around, and you get pink eye, and that's really contagious. So this is a fantastic medicine to have on hand. So you crush a handful of fresh leaves, chickweed, until it's really juicy, and you can use it to like spread on something, and you apply it directly to the infected area. So just like slap on a nice big gob of that green juicy medicine and cover it with a small towel. Leave it there for a little while until the chickweed actually starts to heat up, and that's it's activating and starting to pull out those toxins and that infection. and then you remove it, make another one as needed, once or twice a day for several days, and your pink eye will go away. How cool is that? And then we have, another option, you can make salves. We talked about salves last month. Salves are very easy to make, and our chapter is actually doing a little workshop on salves this month. You can use chickweed salve on bug bites, anything that itches, and anything that you have like a wound. Like I cut myself the other day, and I put a little chickweed poultice on there, put a little band-aid on there, waited a couple minutes, and then took it off and went along my way. So chickweed and nettles are amazing. I really recommend them. And that's all I have for you tonight. So go out there and get into the weeds.
Thank you so much, Gareth. That was a ton of information packed into a little bit of time.
I know.
And if you are a VIP member, all of those links are going to be listed with the video under the National Virtual Gathering on the website. So you'll log in and go to member resources. There's a National Virtual Gathering. I'm going to try and sweet talk Gareth and see if I can also get her PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully she will let me do that. And if she does, I'll also post that. So that's another benefit of VIP membership, is a lot of these resources are available after the fact, or if you miss a gathering, they're available with the recording as you log in to our website. So look for that. That'll be up next Wednesday. So thank you, Gareth. That's awesome. We really appreciate it.
Ginger,
Yes.
I don't mean to be rude. There was some questions as far as Gareth's presentation. There's only a couple on there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Gareth, yeah, let's see what we got here.
How about I answer those on the Q&A and we can move forward? Like I will type in there on the Q&A. Can I do that?
Sure. Perfect. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So she'll do that. Check out the Q&A for your answers. All right. Yeah, because we are a few minutes behind schedule, but we are not taking any time away from our main speaker because she has so much to say. And I'm so excited that she is here. Gareth, pop your camera off for me there. Hannah, there's Hannah. Hannah Crum is here, you guys. If you don't own the Big Book of Kombucha, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, you need to go get it because this book is awesome. I have had this book for probably, 4 years, maybe. I got it at Mother Earth News Fair, which was the first time I had ever heard Hannah. And she is just absolutely amazing. This book has everything from like the nerdy stuff to like the nitty gritty, how do I really do this, to the just tell me how to do it stuff. Like you can get it all. If you just want to know, like, just tell me how to do it, you can find it in here. If you want to like really dig deep and find out like all the other stuff, because you're a nerd like me, then this is your book as well. Yeah, and Hannah too, she admits it in writing. You guys, she is a word nerd. She says that she discovered kombucha through kombucha kismet or fate at a friend's house. She had a crunchy granola friend, and that is how she discovered granola. I mean, not granola. She probably already knew about granola, but that's how she discovered kombucha. She runs a business that some of you may have heard of called Kombucha Camp. And Jessie will give us a link, and I'm sure she'll drop it in the chat several times. We are actually, full disclosure, an affiliate of theirs now. So if you use the link that's in the chat tonight, then it won't cost you anything extra, but it will help us out as an organization, and we would appreciate that a lot. She sells Scobies, she sells brewing kits, she sells books, she sells all the thing. I mean, really, if it is about kombucha or Jun or I can't think of what else is on there right now, but I'm sure she'll tell us. It is on that, but you need to check it out. She is an author. She is a brewer. She is a bacterial girl living in a bacterial world, as she says in her book. And just so you know, tonight, super excited, somebody, don't tell anybody, somebody's getting a book. Okay, so Hannah, take it away, please. Take your whole time. We will go a little bit over, but I know people will not mind because this is going to be great. You've got a great, you are such a great resource, and I know you're going to give so much good information. So tell us what you know.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, everybody. Really nice to see everybody here. Obviously, I don't get to see your beautiful faces, but I can feel your energy. The host here will let me share my screen in just a second, and once I can do, I'll get started. But yes, I found kombucha. I call it Kombucha Kismet. It was love at first sip. Now, I know for a lot of folks, maybe their first sip was a little challenging, but at least for me, it was the heavens open, the lights were shining. And part of that is because I was sad, standard American diet, eating a lot of processed foods. And so that meant that when I tasted fermented food and had enzymes and nutrients available to me, suddenly it was exactly what I wanted. And so can you see my screen? Do you see my presentation? Just making sure.
Yes, we see it now.
Okay, great. And so it just was something that really enlivened me, literally. And what started out as a hobby turned into a passion, turned into a career. Honestly, I had no idea this is where I would end up, but I'm so grateful to be here. So that first sip led me to return home to Los Angeles. I found a local Scoby, a friend hooked me up, and all of a sudden I was a kombucha brewer. Now, my first batches weren't amazing. That takes time and skill, but it also was something my husband was not into either, but it really had tremendous benefits for both of us. So I started my workshop out of my home. I just had to share this knowledge with people. And that's where Kombucha Camp with a K, because I'm cute and clever, just like we said, I'm a word nerd, started. I then blogged about it. And the whole time I was blogging, I was reaching out to commercial producers, because again, I just was so passionate about this and was excited to meet anyone else who shared that passion and actively engaged with them. That led us to found Kombucha Brewers International, where I serve as president. We work with producers all over the world. We just came out with our code of practice. So we're helping our industry to self-regulate, to educate, to create research. We also advocate. We have a hill climb we've been working on, the Kombucha Act. So we are just anything and everything about kombucha. That's us. Our mission is changing the world one gut at a time. We know we can't do it alone. We have to do it in symbiosis, like our mother culture, the Scoby. And our motto is trust your gut. That means what works for me may not work for you, and that's okay, because we are all individual and unique. And that's why it's listening to what is right for your body. Our ethics are pretty simple. We provide quality information. We then follow that up with quality supplies, because we're bacteria farmers. And then, of course, you might still have questions. So we also provide quality support. And we're really passionate about healthy boundaries, making a healthy culture. So let's dive on in. What is kombucha? Many of you may have heard of it. Some of you may not have, but essentially it's fermented tea. So tea is the key to kombucha brewing. We know what tea is. Tea has great health properties. It's been shown to be anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, high in antioxidants. Kombucha is also an acetic acid ferment, like vinegar. Yes, that's where that little sour punch comes from. Unlike vinegar, though, we're an easy drinking vinegar, as I like to say, because we have a much lower acetic acid content. But imagine combining the superpowers of tea with vinegar, and you've got kombucha. We think of it also as the 21st century yogurt, which many of you might remember wasn't available commercially until probably around the 70s or 80s. Like kombucha, it started as a counterculture. It was something you had to make at home. And now we see it as a multi-billion-dollar industry, and kombucha is on its way to doing that as well. So just quickly, what is kombucha and what is not kombucha? It's a fermented food. It is safe to brew at home, just like all fermented foods, because it has inherent properties that make it very safe. It's nutrition in a living form. The nutrients, the vitamins, the acids, all of these are alive. They're available to you. Your body can instantly use them and uptake them. They're not in a synthetic pill form. and they're safe for anyone who's healthy to consume. Kombucha is not a drug. It's not easy to contaminate. It's not a panacea. It's not a miracle cure, and it's okay. It's not for everybody. So there is a ferment out there for you, though, I'm pretty sure, even if kombucha is not the one for you. So this is some of the reasons why many people drink kombucha. A lot of this information you could find at the Kombucha Research Database or referenced in the back of our book. But the top 3 reasons why people drink it is improved digestion, increased energy, and it just makes you feel good. And of course, when we understand that the microbiome in our gut not only helps us digest things, but also produces the serotonin and all the elements we need to have a healthy brain, it makes a lot of sense why feeling good comes from kombucha as well. So why do we drink kombucha? Here's some fun photos. The first time I drank kombucha, I immediately noticed it started improving my digestion. The next thing was my skin got really clear. I continue to get a lot of compliments on that. It improves my circulation. So I used to have really cold hands and feet. Once I started drinking kombucha, especially with the black tea, I didn't have that issue. It definitely reduces sugar and alcohol cravings, not in a like confrontational, you're never going to eat dessert again way, or you're never going to enjoy a drink, but just naturally your body says, you know what, I've had enough, and that's good for me. It is an amazing hangover cure and has helped me many a time in my younger years. Now that I don't have as strong alcohol cravings, it's not as necessary for a hangover, but I find it's a preventative. So I really love kombucha cocktails. It's one of my favorite ways to enjoy kombucha. My husband, he ended up losing about 30 pounds. It didn't happen overnight, and it was a gradual process. It wasn't just the kombucha, but the kombucha is what shifted his palate. He was a guy who woke up every morning and had a Gatorade, because that's an energy drink to get your day going. And every night he was taking that Zantac heartburn pill. Once we got him on the kombucha, about 2 weeks later, stopped having the indigestion, and he's never looked back. So how do we drink kombucha? When we're new to it, again, it is a food, and just like all foods, how do you know when you've had enough? Well, typically your body says, I've had enough. You're not sitting around saying, well, how many blueberries should I have? You have them, and then you're full of blueberries, and then you feel fine. Kombucha is similar, but because in our current society, people have a variety of different autoimmune diseases and ailments. Sometimes we want to take it slow because we may not be prepared for the kind of detoxifying effects that kombucha can have. So what I like to recommend is that we enjoy it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Now, small amount, 4 ounces, 8 ounces, that's half a cup to a cup. The reason for that is you can really feel your insides. I mean, when's the last time you felt your stomach relax? And that's what I feel when I drink kombucha in the morning. I have my kombucha and it's just like, my organs feel so much better. Now, here's the thing. If that flavor profile is too intense for you, don't worry. You can dilute it. When you dilute it with water or you add ice, you're shifting the pH. It makes it easier for you to tolerate. Plus, you want to flush toxins out anyway. So adding water actually helps to clear out some of the gunk that's all stuck inside. It is a tonic, and so that means small, frequent doses. Now, it isn't to say sometimes that you might not want to drink the whole bottle, because certainly you may, but you can also break it up. And because it costs a little bit more when you buy it from the store, that's a great way to just be cost effective with it. I'm gonna have a little sip right here. Definitely makes a great soda substitute. So if you're looking for something to give the family so that they're not constantly going to the Gatorades or the sodas or the whatnots, the juices with all the sugars and those kind of things, kombucha is a really great substitute for that. It can also help with your coffee addiction. Although it can also live concurrent to your coffee addiction, as it has mine for many years, although I'm now drinking herbal coffee in order to give my body a break. Digestive, because it helps with digestion, it's something we can eat at any point in our digestive process. So we can have it before we eat, we can have it during our meals and after our meals. It's just something that's going to help to break things down, make your system more efficient so that you have more energy for the rest of your day. So looking at some of these considerations, we always get these questions, what about pregnant women? What about children, immunocompromised? And I don't know, I feel like I grew up at a time when nobody talked about special diets for pregnant women, but maybe that was just I wasn't with the right people. But anyone can enjoy kombucha. It's listening to your body. So for example, I had a friend who loved kombucha. She got pregnant, couldn't stand the smell of it. Her body was saying, not for me right now. Other women have told me they enjoyed it, they craved it, and it makes sense. It helps with the nausea, the morning sickness. It helps alleviate some of the swelling. I mean, it's a really great, it can be very supportive. I've had other women tell me it really helped with their breast milk flow. So again, we're not saying these are the results you'll have, but everybody has a different reaction to it. Now, immunocompromised, oftentimes they can receive a benefit from kombucha, but if it's too intense, then we'd advise going to, say, water kefir or milk kefir. We're bacteria farmers, as mentioned, and so milk kefir and water kefir are the other two cultures we grow along with kombucha and Jun, kombucha's raw honey cousin. Now, histamine allergy is a whole other thing. At that point, your immune system is just so compromised, it can't tolerate any fermented food. So any healthy organism can tolerate it, or even slightly unhealthy organism, as the case may be. But someone who has that allergy, they need to do some more gut repair work before they're going to be able to tolerate the kombucha. So if you've been trying fermented foods because you heard they're good for you, but you're still having a negative reaction, you're going to want to connect with a primary care physician and just make sure that your body isn't one that is not able to tolerate it at that time. Don't believe me? Give it a try. 7-day kombucha challenge. Just swap out whatever you normally drink, have kombucha, and just see how it makes you feel. So how do we make kombucha? And don't worry, we'll have plenty of time at the end for questions. All right, I'm going to do a little song because this is how I feel like you'll never forget how to make kombucha. It goes like this. Kombucha tea, easy as 1, 2, 3. Brew sweet tea, add a Scoby, wait a week and then repeat. Woo! It's just that easy. And how do I know? Because as I mentioned before, I was sad before I started drinking kombucha, and that meant I was a microwave girl. Everything went in the microwave, or it was ramen on the stove. There was really no cooking ability there. So if I could figure out how to make kombucha, then you certainly could too. And we all know how to brew tea, and in fact, you can even make sun tea. But that said, we brew tea, we add sugar to it, so it's sweet tea. We add our Scoby, that is our symbiotic culture bacteria and yeast. Those organisms are going to start to break down the sugar, make those nutrients bioavailable for the bacteria. They're then going to convert it into those healthy acids. Then we wait. So they take a little time to do that. It can be a week, it can be longer than a week. That depends on many factors. What's the size of your batch? What's the temperature where you're brewing? How sweet or tart do you like it? So all of those factors will come into play. But for your 1 gallon batch, typically a week at the ideal temperature range of 75 to 85, it's going to be ready for most folks. There we go. I just described these steps to you, but here it is. And don't forget the secret ingredient, which is love. Whenever we make things with love, they just taste better. You can really tell that difference when those cookies are coming from grandma versus when they're coming out of a box. And sometimes even if they're coming out of a box, but they're coming from grandma, they taste even better. So love is always one of the things we infuse into what we do, because we know that's going to come back to us multifold. And we've got a great DIY guide and brewing log. If you use the link there to sign up for the recipe guide, that's going to give you all those great these steps. So it's nice and easy. Plus it has our brewing log, so you can start recording your processes. Secondary fermentation, which is what I've got here. This is pink lemonade. This is the flavor that converted Alex. So it's strawberry, lemon, and thyme. And it's just beautiful, isn't it? So that color comes right from the strawberry. So there's no added colors, and it's just beautiful. And you saw those little bubbles. It's got a nice head. As you can see here in these jars, we've got, looks like raspberries. We've got some rosemary. We have maybe some goji berries and ginger. So there's a lot of different ways we can play with our kombucha. Now, one of the cool things is, because vinegar is also a little savory, we don't just have to stick to the sweet stuff. So while ginger is the most popular flavor of kombucha, according to the sales data, it's not the only flavor you have to enjoy. I think there's just something about ginger and humans. We just absolutely love that stuff, and it's so good for us. Fruit is the next most popular kombucha you're going to find commercially. But we can also do things, and in our book, we have 260 flavor inspirations. We have mushrooms, we have bacon, we have salsa kombuchas. But all that said, we could take a chickweed, make a chickweed kombucha. Nettles is great in kombucha. So really, when we understand herbs and plants and how they can have a beneficial medicinal effect on our bodies, kombucha becomes this vehicle for creating our own unique flavor profiles. And because it has that extractive property similar to alcohol or vinegar, it's going to, a little bit goes a long way until you'll really get great flavors in there. That said, if you're using lemon, don't include the white part of the pith, because you will make it a little too bitter. And we can also use different substrates. So once you start to learn the process of kombucha, you'll find it's a really flexible technology that can be applied to a lot of different substrates. Here's our Scoby. It looks like a little pancake. It's white and creamy. It's dense. So you really want a culture where when you pinch it, it doesn't break on you. And there's so many places you can get a Scoby. Of course, if you have a friend, that's probably going to be one of the best places to get it, because you know exactly how it's been grown, how it's been cared for, how it's been loved on. If you don't have a friend, Kombucha Camp is happy to be your trusted source. We love our Scobies. We grow them in all organic ingredients and have for the entire time. And so you know you're getting a really great quality Scoby from us. Now, sometimes we can take, or we used to be able to take a kombucha and grow a Scoby right from that bottle. And I highly recommend everybody do this. If there's a favorite brand of kombucha you're enjoying, go ahead, pour some into a glass, let it sit on the countertop, and just see, does a Scoby grow? These days, some commercial brands of kombucha are made with different types of processes, so they may not all lead to growing a Scoby. So that's one issue. The second issue is because it does contain alcohol, which can sometimes exceed that 0.5% ABV, which is the threshold for taxation, not intoxication. It's only a taxation number. And that's what the Kombucha Act is about elevating that level so that people have access to what Mother Nature has already created for us, as opposed to having to do what some commercial brands do, which is filter and water it down. Not to say those don't taste delicious, but again, you're not getting the same kind of full strength as when you use an authentic culture. So give it a try, check it out. Now, dehydrated cultures do work for some things. Like I can use a dehydrated kefir grain or a milk kefir grain. Unfortunately, the Scoby, so much of its power is in that super strong starter liquid that when we dehydrate them, they fail. And so many people might have tried with a dehydrated Scoby and it didn't work out, and they thought, oh no, I'm a terrible fermenter. In fact, it's just not a good culture to start with. So definitely use a living culture. Burnout Kit. So we're also giving away a Burnout Kit today. Here's what it comes with. You get your super strong starter with 1 cup of starter liquid. So it comes all packaged together in the envelope, so the entire contents goes right into your vessel. Of course, we're going to give you the sugar you need. In fact, it's enough for 2 batches. And then our Hannah special tea blend. So this blend miraculously came to me, and it is so popular. It's green tea, it's black tea, white tea, rooibos, yerba mate. So those aren't teas, but they add flavor and health benefit. People love it by the cup. I think you'll love it too. And of course, you can use all different kinds of tea. This is just what comes with it. Reusable tea bags, because we're eco-friendly, as well as a cloth cover and rubber band, and access to our 100-page PDF handbook. Now, that was the inspiration, of course, for the big book, which is 400 pages. So we've definitely filled it out in the print format, but we want to make sure you have enough information that you can get started with. And of course, if you don't win the giveaway, we do have it available to you, and definitely use that affiliate link, because they will get the credit, and we want to do that and support our National Ladies Homesteading Group. So I mentioned a couple of these key factors. Temperature is one of them. You know, it's one of the things that people don't think about or realize, but if you've ever baked bread, if you've ever made yogurt, right? Those of us who've already fermented understand how important it is to have the ideal temperature, because it's not about what's convenient for us, it's what's convenient for the organisms. And the yeast in kombucha really love this 75 to 85, with 80 being our sweet spot. And so that's what we advocate for. And we have a variety of tools in which you can do that. But, you know, if you've got a warm spot in the house, you got a wood burning stove, you've got you know, somewhere where you can get it toasty, that's just what we want to do. Now you can brew at slightly cooler temps. Sometimes you'll get mold, sometimes you won't. Sometimes the flavor will be good, sometimes it won't. So, you know, again, you can feel free to experiment, but we find this temperature range works the best. Now, the nice thing about kombucha is it makes those acids, which lowers the pH, which makes it impervious to pathogens. So pathogens by their nature are weak. This is a good thing, or we'd all already be dead. So kombucha is one of these things that rips open their cell walls and destroys them, so they cannot proliferate. And this is why making kombucha at home is so safe. I realize that when you're looking at that weird pancake thing or those yeast globs, you're just not quite sure, what am I seeing here? And that can feel, you know, scary or weird. But the reality is, just like all fermented foods, it has specific acids that really help to keep it safe. And in fact, the alcohol is a natural preservative, and that's why it's there. So the sugar gets cut in half by the invertase from the yeast to break that disaccharide into those monosaccharide components. That creates the CO2, the bubbles we love, and that alcohol. That alcohol, again, is self-limiting because alcohol is what converts to vinegar. In fact, the word vinegar, vin aigre, is French for bitter wine, because wine that had the fruit flies hanging out by it, you know, that had turned into vinegar because fruit flies carry acetic acid bacteria on their legs. So, so vinegar is always made from alcohol. And that's why ours is self-limiting, because it converts the alcohol into those acids. But just like rubbing alcohol on a wound, all it's doing is helping to minimize the ability of pathogens to penetrate the brew. Airflow is important because we do not only fermentation, but respiration. So you want to have that cloth cover. Again, we prefer to avoid direct sunlight. You can have ambient light is fine. But if you want to put it in direct sunlight, we have these great covers. Put your jar on the countertop, take advantage of that warm sunlight, but now you know you're not going to damage your organisms. Scoby Hotel, living it up at the Hotel Scoby, California. Kombucha is creative. So Scoby Hotel is your insurance policy. Why? Because they are so reproductive. Kombucha is literally abundance in action. It's also, if you give an organism what it needs to thrive, it will. And that applies to us human beings as well. So a Scoby Hotel is just a place where extra Scobies hang out. You make sure you have liquid in there. You do need to refresh it from time to time. But what that means is when a sister says, hey, I want to try kombucha, you've got a Scoby you can give to her. Or you want to try, you know, skip the tea, just try hibiscus, or make a, you know, chickweed or nettle kombucha without any tea at all. Now you've got an extra Scoby you can do that with. You're not worried that if you kill it or if it doesn't reproduce, you still have extras on hand. There's lots of great other uses for Scoby. We go over them in the book. It has helped a lot of people with rashes, with skin conditions, with eczema, simply by applying it directly. When I put it on my face, oh, it sucked out my brains. No, it didn't. But what it does is it pulls circulation to the surface of your skin, which helps to regenerate the skin cells, which means you have younger skin, you have fewer wrinkles and things like that. So you can even just, now don't go brewing with that face Scoby though. Gotta make sure you put it in its own separate jar. It can also be great for animal feed. So the chickens will fight over the pieces. Some animals you want to grind it up into a slurry and give it to them that way. You can ferment animal feed with kombucha as well, and that has a better outcome for the animals without needing to give them antibiotics. You can turn it into fruit leather and eat it yourself. The Scoby is bacterial cellulose, so it's kind of like eating plants, but we can't digest that cellulose. Instead, like psyllium husk, it acts like a broom. It sweeps out excess sugars, excess hormones, excess anything we don't need from the body. The nice thing is, though, when you combine it with the fruit, it tastes great, but you're also using less fruit than you normally would in a fruit leather. So you get a little bit of a healthy benefit out of both of them. I've heard of people just chomping on them too. It's also been thrown into space. So like kombucha, MIT recently awarded a $15,000 grant to a student who's studying how to use the cellulose to turn it into nanosensors to detect contaminants in the planet, in the soil. So kombucha not only removes toxins from our body, it also removes it from the soil. So, you know, we're in a really toxic world right now, but kombucha is right here to help us through this time. Okay, so we talked about batch brew. Now we're going to talk about continuous brew. This is the easiest, safest, healthiest way to make kombucha. It's easy because everything's coming out of the spigot. There's less cleanup. And as you see, it's a slightly larger vessel we're using here. And that's because we want to maintain certain ratios with the tea and sugar. I'm sorry, with the kombucha, and so the yeast doesn't over proliferate. That's what I'm trying to say. So if we, like for example, if we use starter liquid from the bottom, that's going to cause the yeast to go out of balance, going to get funky flavor. So, so the larger vessel allows us to maintain that good ratio, and I'll show you that in the next slide. It acts like a Scoby Hotel when you're out of town. It's flexible, it works at your pace. It's safe because you're not handling the culture, so there's less risk of contamination. Plus, they're always in that pH-protected environment. And some of these acids I mentioned that help support that healthy liver, the gluconic and glucuronic acid, higher quantities of them are created later in the fermentation process. And when you top off with your sweet tea, while it's at that later stage of fermentation, you end up creating more of those healthy acids. So this is one of these are the 3 reasons why we love continuous brew. So as mentioned, we're doing it in this larger batch. It's a slightly longer fermentation time, but the nice thing is you have a spigot. It's easy to take a sip anytime you need it. When you decant, you're just going to want to give it a good stir. As I mentioned, the yeast are important for making the bubbles. And so in a batch brew, when we're pouring the vessel upside down, all that yeast from the bottom can fall forward. In a continuous brew, we're leaving it stationary. And so we need to just agitate the liquid. The yeast then floats around, comes out of the spigot into your bottle. Now, when you add your fruit, you're going to get some bubbles too. So when we top off, we're just pouring it onto the top, everything comes out the spigot. So it's this nice little flowing process we're doing. And there's a couple shortcuts we can take. So let's say you can brew more tea, you can add it right from the fridge straight in here, all good. Our book, as mentioned, we're doing a giveaway today. So hopefully someone here will win this. This is a wonderful prize. I call it a fun textbook. It's something you'll probably refer to again and again. And just like me, when I first started reading books, I went to the library, checked out every book on kombucha I could find. I bought Günter Frank's very slim novel that was translated in '95 into a whole bunch of languages. He's Austrian. I read the book, then I started brewing my kombucha. And then I came back and I started to read the book again. I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much more sense now that I've had the experience of doing it. And so the book has a ton of info. Don't feel like you have to read it cover to cover, but come back to it and digest it as you go through the process. Lastly, I just want to remind us all that diversity is our nature. And what kombucha teaches us is that when we live in a culture with healthy boundaries, we all have a chance to thrive. And think about it, when you look outside, is it one kind of tree? Is it one kind of flower? Is it one kind of bug? Absolutely not. It is all kinds of things in a symphony, in a tapestry woven together. And that's what we need right now more than anything else. You know, we're a country that's going through some intense changes, and we really need to remember the humanity. We are all part of this amazing ecosystem. And the more that we can embrace that diversity, even if we don't share the same opinions on everything, that's okay. Remember, it used to be you could have different opinions and still be friends. That's just what I hope kombucha teaches the world, because we really need to come together now. There's more good guys than bad guys, as already mentioned. And you know, we need to come together, teach each other these skills, and really help elevate our communities, which is why I so love this organization, because I know that's exactly what you guys are doing here. So if you need anything, it's easy to find us. We're all over the interwebs and the social media outlets. And thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And now that that was a torrent of information, let's answer some questions.
First, I want to thank you, Hannah. That was a fantastic presentation. So it was really, really great. So I'm going to go ahead and let Ginger go ahead, ask you the questions so that you can answer them, because I saw there were a few that were on here.
And please drop more in the Q&A.
Yep. So what about rose petals? Can you use rose petals to flavor kombucha?
My favorite flavor is Love Potion 99, and it is blueberry, lavender, and rose. So absolutely, I love rose, and rose petal jun is really nice. So jun, which we didn't talk about much, is kombucha's raw honey cousin. So it's a culture that's uniquely adapted to harmonize with the organisms in the raw honey. So like we saw those beehives earlier, if you keep bees, John is a really great culture to have around. Makes such a delicious product. And, you know, just imagine putting rose petals into like honey, floral, so good.
Great. Okay. And somebody asked, why do you use pasteurized honey?
Oh, so that's if you're making kombucha, right? So that's the difference between the two. Kombucha, so when we were, right, we're farmers. So when we were first cultivating our Jun, we sourced them from a variety of places, and then we tried them on different substrates. And what we found is when we fed kombucha raw honey and we fed Jun pasteurized honey, they each died and went to mold. And so that was how we knew the cultures we had were independent of each other as much as they're cousins and very similar, but that they were discrete organisms that have their own unique fermentation substrates.
Okay, so there's a question about kind of the seasons. The question is, I love making and drinking kombucha in the summer, but in the winter we don't use it. Do you have any ideas for slowing down or making it more dormant in the winter?
Oh, so you don't want to make it in the winter. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, they use it and make it in the summer, not in the winter.
So then just put them in a hotel. Now you do want to refresh those hotels from time to time because your cultures will get stagnant. It's also why we do not recommend storing our cultures in the fridge. Again, remember, these are best practices. Everyone wants to argue about every tiny little thing. Well, I did it and it turned out fine. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a best practice. And typically, if we put a culture into the fridge and let's say we forget about it for 3 or 6 months, when you come to pull it out and go to use it immediately, it's more than likely going to go to mold because it's been cold and all the organisms are, you know, they're basically in suspended animation of sorts. And so the best thing to do is to keep your hotel at room temperature and then refresh it with some sweet tea from time to time. First of all, there's going to be natural evaporation that occurs. And then second of all, that's just going to make sure that the organisms have some additional nutrients so that they don't just go into that stasis or holding pattern.
Okay,
Oh.
and I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, as Tony said, I have to learn to like tea. You don't, because just like grape juice doesn't taste like wine, kombucha doesn't actually taste like tea. So it's just the substrate we use. So you don't actually have to like tea.
Yes, especially if you're doing a secondary ferment or adding a flavoring, you really can make it just taste like anything. So.
Anything really, yeah. It's so versatile, and we can use. And in fact, we have several cooking recipes where we can, you know. Here's the thing: you're gonna get busy, you forget a batch. Now it's too sour to drink. First of all, you can throw it down the drain. It's great drain cleaner. So I like to think there's no part of the kombucha that's going to go to waste, no matter what you do with it. Secondarily, you could use it like kombucha vinegar. So you can make your marinades, salad dressings. Now it's not going to be as intense as say an ACV or, you know, a balsamic, but it does have a nice flavor profile to it. Plus the vinegar is great to use in a bath, foot bath. It helps to detox naturally. It leaves your skin super soft. So there are a ton of uses. Even if you get too busy and forget about it, you can always come back later and revive it and use that kombucha vinegar. First of all, it's a great strong starter, and then you can use the rest of it in other ways.
All right, so how long can a Scoby live? Do you eventually have to get a new one? And can you freeze a Scoby for a long-term backup?
Great question. So you can freeze kombucha and like in ice cubes and then still get a health benefit from it. But the Scobies, so right, like you'd have to have a flash freeze because otherwise the ice crystals, as it goes through that slow freezing process, expand and they break too many of the cell walls. So we would not advise using that as a long-term storage method. What was the first part of the question?
How long are they good for? Do you have to replace them?
So they're good until they start to look like an old piece of liver. What that means is just as they continue to ferment, they take on the tannins from the tea, especially if you're using darker teas, and they'll start to look really old. And like I said, good culture is going to be resilient. So if you can press your thumb and forefinger through the culture and it breaks easily, then it's just gonna, that's not good culture. Do you need to get another one? It just depends on if you've kept a good hotel or not. And that's why we say keep the hotel, because that way you don't have to buy another one. But sometimes people will come back and buy a new one because they didn't keep up a hotel or they got out of the loop with it. So yeah, it's not something you have to. I know this is the weird thing. I sell something that you never have to buy again potentially, but because it's self regenerative. But we do, as the stewards, have to take care of it and mind it.
All right. When brewing kombucha, do you have to use green or black tea, or can you use herbal teas?
Yes, so I think I've alluded to several times that while tea, Camellia sinensis, which is the Latin name for that plant, and the green tea, black tea, white tea, they're all the same plant. How they're processed, when they're picked, that is what's dictating the color and flavor profile. But they all come from the same plant. So that is our original substrate. So anytime you get a culture, you're going to want to immediately make it in tea and sugar. Once you have offspring, once you have extra babies, experiment. Hibiscus does really well. You get really fat pink scobies, of course, from the hibiscus color. So you can use herbal tea. Now, some herbs have essential oils that may limit the bacteria. You know, some, if you use the same one again and again. So typically, if we're making like a certain type, like let's say it's hibiscus kombucha, we're going to want to continue to use the offspring from that culture, the starter liquid from that culture, as opposed to mixing and matching. You could mix and match though. If you notice that your culture is starting to weaken over time, you can grab some of your tea starter, your kombucha starter that's made with tea, and that will reinvigorate it. But we've made coffee kombucha, so that's out there too. I know it sounds weird, but it's actually pretty tasty. We've even seen heart kombucha, which is where we're taking kombucha and adding additional yeast to increase that alcohol content. So that's become a really popular beverage.
All right, we're going to do 3 more questions and then we're going to move on. All right. So, well, okay. So I'll do a combination question first. Can any kind of mushroom be used, and how do you get more fizz?
So yeah, this is a misnomer. Just like kefir grain, there's no grain. Why do we call it a grain? Because it kind of looks like a grain. So kombucha mushroom, there are no mushrooms at all associated with kombucha. It just kind of looks like a mushroom cap. Now, yeast are related to fungi, but they're not mycelium. So they aren't related at all. So no, don't use just any old mushroom. You definitely want to make sure you have a kombucha culture or Scoby, symbiotic culture, bacteria and yeast. I don't know what'll happen if you try to ferment a reishi or a button mushroom or something like that.
So how do you get more fizz was the second part of that.
Oh yeah, fizz. I know, everybody loves it. So here's the thing, human beings are hardwired for bubbles. Here's why. First of all, they're present in all fermentation. In fact, the word ferment comes from fervere, which is the Latin for to boil, because when you open up that fermentation vessel, what did you see? All these bubbles, as if it had been boiling, because it's so active with life. And so we crave bubbles. And that's sort of the bait and switch of sodas, is they put fake bubbles in there, and that tricks us into thinking we're getting a fermented drink. The other reason we're so in tune with the bubbles is because yeast contain all of the B vitamins in living form, even B12. Granted, it's in trace amounts in kombucha, but it is in that natural living form, so your body can instantly uptake it. And so getting more fizz is about going to what the yeast needs. And as I mentioned before, the yeast needs sugar and they need temperature. So when it comes to doing your secondary fermentation, you need to make sure you get some of that yeast in your bottles. So again, in batch brew, when we pour it upside down, all the yeast that rests at the bottom is going to come flowing forward. Now you might give it a stir just so it's more evenly mixed, so you're getting yeast in every bottle, as opposed to a little too much. You'll end up with some bottles that fizz like crazy and other bottles that have almost no fizz at all. Same with the continuous brew, because we never upend that vessel, we need to stir it so that we get some of the yeast into our bottle. So then the next part of this equation is some fermentable sugar. So if your kombucha is still on the sweet side, there's enough residual sugar, it will create a light bubble. If you're, but you can increase that, of course, by adding fruit, ginger. Even though it's not sugar per se, it has a lot of nutrients for the yeast, and that will help to give more bubble. Here's the third thing, temperature. So we mentioned the yeast in kombucha like that 75 to 85 range, with 80 as our sweet spot. So you leave your bottles out for a couple of days, you put them in the fridge. Well, what temperature is the fridge? It's like 40 degrees. And so when we drop that temperature, we reduce the activity of the yeast. And so you might take it out of the fridge, and certainly a commercial kombucha, because they force carbonate, they might do a combination of both forced carbonation and natural effervescence, because as a consumer, you have an expectation. And if your expectation isn't met, you're going to be mad that you didn't get the bubbles in there. But as home brewers, we know that the fizz can be fickle. And so we have to give it all of the right circumstances in order to do that. So like if you have a heater on your vessel, take your bottle out of the fridge, nestle it against the heater, give it 15 minutes or so, and that fizz will return. And so the other thing that we do is we just store ours at room temperature. Now you do have to be careful, because in the summer particularly, it can get too hot. That'll create a bottle bomb, explosion. That just can be messy and potentially dangerous. And so you do need to just make sure you're not overdoing the temperature there. But that said, if you have a cellar or like a 60 degrees, kind of like a wine fridge type deal, that might be a great temperature to keep your brews at. They'll retain some of that fizziness. It won't be as cold as the fridge, but you'll also minimize the potential for a bottle bomb.
Okay, and I've got one more, and then I'm saving the absolute most important question, I think, for last. Okay, so Lisa asked, I've seen Scobies in many sizes. What is a good size Scoby for an initial batch?
Yeah, so we recommend our cultures go by weight, but they're all the same size because that's the size of the jar. So the layer is always going to grow to the size of the vessel. So even if you have one of our cultures, let's say you put it into one of those continuous brewers, you put 2 of them in there because it's a 2.5 gallon vessel, the new Scoby that grows is going to fit the entire, this is in other slides. This is the short version of the presentation. I go into that in more detail in other ones, but basically we want 4 ounces of culture with 1 cup of starter liquid, sometimes 2 cups. But that's what we do with ours. They're 4 to 6 ounces, and they come with 1 cup of very strong starter. Like, don't try to drink it. It's not going to taste good. Whereas like when you're doing it from home, we do what we call back slopping, a very beautiful sounding technical term, where we're basically taking some of the batch and take it from the top, right? We mentioned that yeast is going to fall to the bottom. Yeast are everywhere. We don't want to over yeast our brew. That will cause it to go out of balance. And so we always want to take that starter right from the top. So think about it like this. Pull out your Scobies. Now, like an offering, 1 to 2 cups for your culture. Set that aside. Everything else is for you to drink, and which is even better because then you get the yeast in there, so that way you get the fizz.
Okay, and I think Miranda has asked maybe the most important question. What do we need to watch for us newbies so that we know our batch has gone bad and it's not healthy to drink?
Okay, I'm going to do one. Let me just screen share one more time because we didn't go over the mold. But again, kombucha is a food. How does food tell us there's something wrong with it? It grows mold. This is literally the most spectacular mold I've ever grown in my entire kombucha career, and it happened within the first year. It happened because I ended up getting a culture from someone who I guess was brewing it in a very different process, and this culture just came out so moldy. But right, it's obvious. It's now here's the real test, because sometimes you'll see Scoby growth in there, like if we were in that, right, like you see things hanging out in dongly bits, or like if the new Scoby's growing, it doesn't fully form right away, and so it can just look transparent and weird. The test is the finger. You strike your finger across what you think is the mold. If it leaves a powdery residue on your finger, it is. Now we advise tossing everything. Of course, we have all been in the situation where there's a little mold on our bread and we might just pick it off and eat the bread anyways. With kombucha, even if the mother is elsewhere in the jar, the spores are already inside of her. So certainly you're welcome to try recuperating her with some extra tea and sugar, but we advise just tossing everything. And that again is why the Scoby Hotel is so valuable, because if you make a mistake, if you get a funky batch, at least you have some you can go back to. Oh, you're on mute.
Hannah, thank you. I can't tell you how excited I am. Even though I have your book and I've read your book, and I just love to hear you speak. You're just so passionate about, you know, what you do and what you know, and the way that you share it is just, it's just fun to listen to you. I feel like you're easy to listen to, you're entertaining, and you have so much knowledge to share. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's see. I'm going to drop again the link in the chat for everybody. This is our affiliate link. So again, it's not going to cost you anything extra, but it will help us out. You know, I know a lot of us know how affiliate things work because they're very common in the world today. So we are now affiliate partners with Kombucha Camp, and I would love for you guys to go support Hannah, and also that would help support us. But again, if you know somebody that does kombucha, I mean, like she said, you can always share, and then when you get going, you can share with other people. So now for my favorite, I'm going to give stuff away because that is just my awesome time. So I'm going to start with my all members. Now this is all members regardless of whether or not you attended tonight. Of course, if you're not attending tonight, you can't hear me say this, but okay, so I'm at the beach and I grabbed 2 of the same magazine. It's going to be 2 different magazines. You're going to get, I don't know, this is going to be one of them. I don't know what the other one's going to be yet. It's going to be a surprise to you, and it'll be a surprise to me. When I get home, I'll pick it out and we'll find out what it's going to be. So let's see here. I'm going to share my screen. Remember, this is, oh, I'm sorry, this is all VIPs, all VIP members, whether you are attending tonight or not. So a magazine bundle. Good luck, everybody. Lots of names on this list, lots of names. And our winner of the all VIP giveaway magazine bundle, Linda from Dawson, Forsyth. Linda, writing your name down so I don't forget. Okay, so that is that. Now, okay, so this is what I know. This is why all of you are still here. I know, trust me, because we've lost one person. Hannah, that doesn't happen. They are all waiting to see if they win. That's what they're here for. So I'll start off with the bad news, which isn't really bad. That continuous brew kit that Hannah was talking about, that is going to be our VIP. I'm sorry about my lighting, y'all. That is going to be my VIP attendee.
It's the Brew Now kit, not the continuous.
The Brew Now. I'm sorry. The Brew Now kit. Yes, the Brew Now kit. That is going to be the VIP attendee. So I will actually give that away at the beginning of next month. So that's the bad news. But if you are a VIP member and you are on tonight, which I'll run a report. You don't have to tell me you're on. I'll get it. If you are not a VIP member, you can go join, because when I run my report, I look at the date. So as long as the date says 4/7. So if you want to be in the drawing for that Brew Now kit, you can go join as long as you join by 11:59 tonight and you are here, you will be in that drawing. But for all attendees, everybody that's on tonight is in the drawing for the Big Book of Kombucha. You guys, I'm so excited. Okay, let's see who's going to win this awesome book. It is so much fun to give away stuff. Oh my gosh, I'm the person that likes to sit and watch everybody open their Christmas presents. Okay, this is everybody that's on the call tonight. Good luck, everybody. Who's going to win? I'm so excited for you. There we go. Weidman. I know I'm butchering your name and I am sorry, but regardless of how I pronounce your name, you are going to win this book. Well, not this one, this one's mine, but you will win a copy of Hannah's book. And so I will be sending you an email. Watch your email in the next week. If you don't see it by next Wednesday, check your spam folder, because that absolutely could happen. And then, like I said, at the beginning of next month, I will do the drawing for that. The Burnout Kit. I don't know. I've got continuous brew on the
It's
brain. I'm
exciting.
sorry.
It's so
I
fun.
think
Don't
I
be
need
sorry.
to try continuous brewing now. I think it is in my brain. Okay, so the Burnout Kit, again, we'll give it away at the beginning of next month, like we always do. If you're not a VIP member, you want to be in on that drawing, you can still join, and you just go to our, let's see, go to nlhg.org and you can click join us. All right, somebody was asking for the code to use when they order. It's not a code, it's a link. And I'm putting it in the chat one more time for you there. So just look in the chat. All right, so we're a little bit over. I apologize, but I know that everybody wanted to get all that information. Hannah, thank you again so incredibly much.
Can we do one last thing?
I have thoroughly.
Will you indulge me in one last thing? Because you've done it in person.
Absolutely.
Can we do a giant human Scoby? Okay, so I realize it's a little more challenging in a virtual space because normally we throw out the nanofibers of connection, which are our hands, and we hold hands like in a giant circle, and we just feel the energy of all of us as one giant human Scoby. So I'm going to invite everybody to do that right now, virtually. Throw out your nanofibers of connection just for a moment. Let's just hold this space together. Because this is how we change the world. We come together, we have like minds, we have like passions, we have like hearts, and we care. And we share that caring with other folks. We share it with the people we love. And even if we're strangers, we know that we share these same things in common. And this is how we change the world. So just want to thank everybody for being here tonight, for sharing in this with us. And just want to remind you to trust your gut. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah, so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, thank you. All right, so now is the time for the breakout room. All right, so I am going to throw a link up in the chat, and it is a link to a Zoom meeting, just a regular old Zoom meeting like you guys are used to. So there in the chat, if you click on that, it's going to take you over to the Zoom. Oh, is that it? Am I done, Cindy? Have I missed something?
No, you're on.
Oh, okay. you were just sitting there like I was in trouble.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so if you want to go to the breakout rooms, go ahead and go. Ladies, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you joined us. If you aren't going to the breakout rooms, but you would like the link to register for next month, hang out here for about 2 minutes. Thank you. I will enjoy my vacation at the beach. Hang out here for 2 minutes and I'll put it up in just a minute, but I don't want people to get confused. So go on and jump on over to the breakout rooms. The link is in the chat. It says zoom.us/blah, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Cindy, you raised your hand. If you have a question, throw it in the chat. I'm here and I'm watching the chat. So if you raised your hand by accident, that's okay. I'll wave back at you. No problem. And I hope everybody has a great night. I see people are popping off, heading over to the breakout rooms. Yes. Yeah, I'll be over in the breakout rooms in a minute though, Bonnie.